Christopher Newton Carter. Paul R. Nimbley.
With the sound of each bell is a resident of Middletown who was killed 19 years ago in the World Trade Center attacks.
Never, ever forget what happened that day.
No other town lost more people per capita outside of New York City, with 37 residents of Middletown falling victim to the terrorist attacks that day.
We had thousands of residents that commuted to Manhattan by ferry, train, and bus.
And then you come here that night riding to the train station after it happened and realizing a lot of those cars that were parked there, people weren't coming home to.
One resident of Middletown who died, Kenneth Tejan, now has a foundation in his name.
My brother was a Port Authority police officer. He was working at Path in Journal Square at the time in Jersey City when they got the call that the tower had been hit. He was giving first aid to a woman when the towers came down, and their clothing was actually found together at the site. Over the last 19 years, his charity has grown tremendously, and we help about 1,500 families a year.
Firefighter John Drucker worked in the World Trade Center following the attacks in '93.
After the bombing, the initial bombing, we were contracted by the Port Authority to restore the fire systems in the building. 2 weeks before 9/11, I was promoted to operations back in New Jersey. And the last day I was on my offices on the 81st floor was on Friday, September 7th. We had done so much after the first attempt, the first terrorist. And it was so it's just really hard to see all that we had done gone, but more importantly, the thousands of people that lost their lives that day. And a lot of them were just going to work, you know, that's all they were doing.
One of the attack planes actually flew over my office, and on the drive home, it was a very eerie moment. I saw nothing but fire engines and ambulances heading into New York City, and smoke from the towers coming down.
People of all ages, friends and family joined in the morning service, followed by a moment of silence.
Did they talk about the World Trade Center in school?
Yeah. It was like really horrible, like a bad experience.
It might be just tragic for them by telling them, but like they've never lived through it like we did as young when we were younger. I mean, I was in middle school when this happened, so I explained to her about it. So it just is very tragic.
It seems that many in the community reached out and helped in any way they could.
Like my husband would get a call at like 2 a.m. and a woman would say that my toilet's running and I can't stand it anymore, and he'd go and he'd fix the toilet. Painting a room that maybe a husband had started and never got to finish. He would give them funds. He would run over with a check. They never had to fill out any paperwork, and he would go over with a check and they would be able to get that room done.
According to Mayor Perry, the plans for next year's memorial are already in the works.
But ahead of the 20th anniversary, we're working to add a final piece to the World Trade Center Memorial Gardens that will encompass that hope.
Middletown holds a candlelit vigil every year. Every 5 years, they read the names aloud. This year, because of COVID-19 and concerns of the New York City observance, Middletown decided to have a reading of the names this year. This morning's service ended with a PBA run at 8:46, which is the time that the first tower was hit. Reporting from Middletown for New Jersey News Network, I'm Kimberly Kravitz.